ladies and gentlemen. Trump is pushing for schools to reopen. Now, as you know, it's not even safe out here for the adults. You know darn well it's not safe for the children. The schools are not set up for social distancing. You have a big problem here. First of all, you're going to have to social distance these kids in class. And what about in between class, going through those narrow hallways with hundreds of kids out there, switching classes? How do you social distance them? Then you have to social distance them in gym, in the cafeteria. Okay. If you have any type of sport or any type of assembly, you're going to have to social distance them somehow, even for something like that. It is just too complicated. And you know what? At the end of the day, it is your children, not Trump's. You have to decide if it's safe for your children to be there. I'm telling you, I don't believe it is. So let's get in this story. The story came out on Politico, May 15th, 2020. Trump pushes schools to reopen. DeVos says some classes may remain online. President Donald Trump expects a full reopening of schools come fall. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos isn't so sure. I don't consider our country coming back if the schools are closed, Trump said this week. And there's no question, American education should be fully operational by the fall. DeVos spokesperson said. But DeVos added a caveat. Trump doesn't much like a lot of school systems will have to stick with virtual schooling if they aren't ready for a full reopening. Students may very well be returning to a learning environment that's a mix in person, online, and experimental, DeVos spokesperson said. Trump's path to re-election is closely tied to an economic recovery. Well, that's his problem. He shouldn't be using these kids because he's trying to get reelected. Okay, so they're pretty much saying a lot of things that I just said. You know, school leaders and parent groups say they don't have clear guidance, money, or means to throw open schoolhouse doors while ensuring the safety of children crowded together on buses and in lunchrooms and the adults who supervise them. They want politicians to listen to medical experts. The slight differences between Trump and his education chief reflect a much more ferocious fight at the local level as governors and county school boards across the country debate with education activists and parents over how schools will be able to pack children back into a classroom setting. Even on their best days, classrooms filled with children are a germophobic worst nightmare. Now, the kids could become potentially vectors for a deadly virus. White House guidelines say dormant schools should stay closed until states log weeks of decline, like the flu illness, and documented COVID-19 cases before considering in-person return to class. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has told schools since March to consider extended dismissals of 2 weeks or longer when there's a substantial transmission of the disease in a community. The federal government has little formal power to enforce the guidelines for schools, but they do carry influence. New CDC suggestions now say schools need to be ready to protect children and staff who are at high risk of severe illness, and be ready to screen everyone for symptoms and a history of exposure to the disease before reopening their doors. And see, that right there is a problem. You still are not talking about the asymptomatic people that have this thing and they are spreading it. Kids aren't going to know something like that. How are they going to know if they were exposed or not? Especially if they're around somebody that have it, but they're not showing symptoms. I just don't see this as a good idea. Old teachers may have to stay home for their health, Trump acknowledged. And he says it's up to governors to make the call on whether schools should reopen, but their state is not open if the schools aren't open, he said Thursday. So again, it is very little impact on young people, and I think they should open their schools. No defense, but I don't want Trump's judgment on anything. I don't. Okay. I don't want some guy that talks about somebody should get some bleach and disinfectant inside the body to tell me what to do with my kids. So people that need to return to work and your kids need to go back to school, you're going to have to make a tough decision. Do you listen to this president or do you follow your instincts on what to do with your children? Nothing has been resolved. This virus is still here, and it has not dropped low enough for any state to be reopening anything. But you got people out here that are hell-bent on opening the state. So what do you do as a parent? I think you need to make the right decision for your children. This is not about Trump. The hell with his reelection. When it comes down to your kids, it's about your decision as the parent on what to do with your children. Trump at that point is irrelevant. But y'all, please tell me what you think. You know, homeschooling is not illegal in America. Any parent can do this. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.